Alright y'all, so I've been cooking up this slime paladin build and I'm going to show y'all why I think it's the current best paladin build in game. This build has solo gameplay capability, boosting, survivability, and overall great support against bosses and regular encounters. So with this build I haven't really had any trouble except for early game just because, game wipe, I didn't have any of the build set up, no artifacts, nothing, but going into now it's a pretty strong build. So you're going to be going slime race, subclass bard for extra support. I'm gonna use Jade Broadsword just to get extra healing output. For your offhand, if you are slime, I think Dragon Flame Shield is probably your best bet. It reflects 100% of melee damage. And if you're not a slime, which I don't know why you would, but you're gonna go with Slime Shield for the extra passive. For enchant, I just got Life Song. After debating between all the enchants, I think this is just your best bet. You're gonna be able to heal a lot better. For your artifact, I think regular encounters you're gonna use Dark Sigil, and against bosses you're probably gonna want to equip Narthana's Sigil for the extra heals. Race, obviously Lentum. And for my gears, I currently have Traveler's Lamp, Spore Root. I think every build should have 7 Leaf Ever Thistle on just for the extra drops. And last gear is gonna be Dragon Memoir, and armor you're gonna go Paladin. The stat loadout on this is you're just gonna dump everything into endurance. You don't really need anything else for this build. Over each gear and some potential swaps you could include if you're missing some of these gears, but I think these three or these four are pretty essential. For Traveler's Lamp first. So with Traveler's Lamp, at the start of every encounter, you're gonna be given 3 vulnerable stacks to all enemies. So with solar encounters, this is like a necessity. You're gonna start the battle and immediately give 3 stacks or 3 debuffs to your Dark Sigil, so 3 out of 6, and you're gonna see why that's important in a little bit. Next, I'm gonna show off Spore Root. So every time you block, you're gonna apply 2 poison, and you have a chance to do 2 weaken, but with your slime race passive, it's always gonna proc. You have that's an additional 3 debuffs you get applied to enemies just for blocking melee attacks. So just with 1 block and your Traveler's Lamp, you're gonna be proccing Dark Sigil immediately. I also included Dragon Memoir recently. This is gonna help you in boss fights, and it's gonna help buff your teammates, especially if you're running with a lot of physical builds, which is pretty heavy right now. You're gonna be constantly debuffing enemies when you're out of options, or if you just want to buff your allies. This is gonna apply 2 bleed and fracture every time you attack with your regular strike, which is never off cooldown. So your buffs or debuffs are on cooldown, you can just keep throwing that out. There's some gears that you can swap out. I think Spore Root is really the only one that you could swap out against bosses though, because like Seraphon, and there's a few bosses that don't really have melee attacks, so it's not going to benefit you too much. You could swap in the R boosted tier just because it gives you more aggro, but it's not guaranteed. That's why I'm not really running it. But 0 energy, you can just throw it out, that's fine. Another gear that I was thinking about adding into this build is the Narthana's Leaf, just because it increases your healing output by 1.75, and that's a crazy amount, while only sacrificing 25% of your health. And even with that, you're still going to be running around 300 health, and your regen is going to be crazy, and you're still going to be able to buff, so you could use that as well. So here's a solo encounter as Paladin with Dark Sigil on. You're going to see just why this is so strong. So first block on, I already got 2 procs. Another block, I have 5, 5, and then 30 damage AoE to all enemies. And then all you're gonna do is clean up. And you see with every strike, which I think you should use, or Bane, it doesn't really matter. Just clean up, kill all these enemies, and you're gonna keep getting those stacks of debuffs in, and you're just gonna keep getting the AoE off. See, there's another one. So even against enemies that regen and solo encounters, you're still gonna be able to kill them pretty consistently. So you're gonna see if I meditate and get hit here, I'm gonna be healing him. So you don't have to guard anymore. I think meditating is a better option because you're giving yourself and a random person in your party 1 energy every. So yeah, this is why I think the Church Covenant is your best option here. I think it's way better than Way of Life. You're gonna be able to support way better. You have 2 extra buffs that you could just give people now. You have Light, which gives 1 resist, and every time you give your party a buff, you're gonna be healing 5% for each buff you give. So that's crazy sustain. And with your other passive, Blessing of Life, your every time, or I don't know, with your other passive, you're gonna be giving 1 energy to a random person in your party every time you get hit. So with multi-hit moves, that's crazy. If he does get low, you could always just throw Mucilage on, but it's not really necessary. And whenever Thread of Fate comes out, I'll just meditate, and that allows for him to get some healing back as well. Alright, so I'm gonna include 2 clips of me fighting Seraphon with Narthan Sigil and without it. You're gonna see this cool tech I figured out. If you meditate while you have the one passive from Church, it pretty much heals the whole team, even if you don't have Narthana Sigil. You just have to meditate during the Justice. You know, you can kind of predict that. Once you fight the bosses a few times, you know, you'll be able to do that pretty consistently. And you'll see here how much it heals. I'll even show, the screenshot shows exactly how much healing I was getting per run, even without Narthana, so enjoy.